always do.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you all for coming here. Here we are, year three, start of year three. You know, we were in New York yesterday, so a couple of our players will probably be a little bit tired, you know, because we moved them around pretty frequent when we were in New York. We had a nice dinner with some of our alum and supporters, and then up and early. Yeah, I'm excited about this group for a lot of different reasons. Number one, the retention of some of our players, even the players we redshirted. I think they've really grown, developed, have a Georgetown identity. You know, Caleb, Kayvon, Malik, Fort, Seal, Julius, just the know-how, right? And that's missing in today's sport, in today's college landscape, is just carryover and consistency from one year to another. And then with the players I feel we've added from the portal, I believe we added 5, Langston, KJ, Isaiah, Vince, and Deshaun. I feel, you know, from an identity standpoint, really fit the way we want to try to play. You know, being picked 6 really is like being picked 10,000 to me, because it's our coaching opinions, and I think we have really good basketball coaches in the Big East. I don't know how bright we all are, right? You know, I think we can call timeouts and get some players to come. Yet it's somebody's opinion. St. John's in Connecticut got a lot of love, not just in the Big East, yet nationally, of which they deserve. You still got to play the game. You got to play the game. You know, you're going to be picked somewhere, right? So I appreciate what people did. Having a couple of players in all conference, that don't mean anything either. You still have to perform. You still have to play. So just excited about the start of the year. Excited to get in this building in a couple of weeks when we open up against Morgan, then go, you know, down the street to play a really new Maryland team. So just excited about this year and what we're about to do.
All right, we'll open it up to questions, and then raise your hand. We'll get a mic into your hand from Joey. Gene?
Hey, Gene Wong, Washington Post. When you talk about the depth, is this a situation where you visualize playing 10 dudes, 9 dudes on a regular basis? You want to tighten that up at some point, or how does that rotation look like at this point?
And most of the time, you normally tighten it up. You do as the season goes on. You normally have an extended roster early just to see what you got, who can perform, who's actually added to the bottom line. Yet we do have 12 first time here. We have every scholarship player who is more than worthy enough to get on the floor and contribute. I just don't, you know, most coaches go 7 to 9 players when you look at it historically, you know. And again, we're too deep at every position, so that's allowed us to get better with practice. That's allowed us to our conditioning. But I don't foresee us playing 12 scholarship players. You know, the ones who are worthy, the ones who are getting the job done, who's reliable, who's available, who's dependable, and who's getting that job done. So there's a lot of competition, which has allowed us to really grow.
I wanted to ask you about the schedule, if you could comment on that. Obviously some big hit the ground running with that Rupp, and you obviously got Carolina, Maryland, non-conference schedule, Maryland. Just the value of that, and you know, the just matching to the big boys in the non-conference.
We're one of the big boys.
Yeah.
Right, and we told you as we grow, as year 1 to year 3, we told you we would schedule toward what we felt our team was going to be like. First year was what it was. We didn't know we were coming into. Year 2, we said, okay, we got to teach these young men how to win. What does it feel like to win? And obviously we had an incredible injury report going into it. And this year we did the same. You know, okay, we are trying to be a tournament team. We are trying to compete for a Big East regular season and conference championship. So in doing so, you know, Lee Reed, who is on the selection committee, has been an incredible resource as far as educating us on what the discussions are. Who did you play? Where did you play? And what was the result? You have this Ken Palm this, that Palm that, Palm this. I don't think that means shit. I really don't. It has to be who did you play, where did you play, and what was the result, okay? And again, we have to create an atmosphere here at Capital One Arena. And again, right now, we're not where we need to be. We're not where we need to be. When you walk into Gamble, sold out. Madison Square Garden, sold out. Providence, sold out. Xavier, sold out. Creighton, sold out. You know, we have to get to that point, and hopefully some winning will do that. But we purposely scheduled home and home with some opponents We played in a really, really good non-conference MTE down in Florida, and obviously going on the road next year to Clemson, we feel is another really good home and home game for us. So I think we're doing our job scheduling. Now we have to have the result behind it.
All right, let's go to Patrick Stevens.
Pat, how you
And
doing?
we'll go
Well,
to Dave
how are you?
Preston.
Great to see you again.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
KJ seems like sort of, especially looking at those 6 steals the other night,
Mhm.
sort of in some ways a successor to Micah
Mhm.
in a sense. How important is he going to be defensively as well as offensively?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. It's, you know, when I give LaDonte Hinton a lot of credit, Jeff Battle, Brian Blaney, a lot of targeting guys that really fit the way we want to play. And, you know, we've always had on our better teams, we've been fortunate to coach an anchor or two on the defensive end while growing offensively. And I think he is in that realm. Played a lot of heavy minutes at Arizona, right? But wasn't quote unquote the guy, right? And again, we're trying to help him become that and settle into that. And again, he's settling into most players take a little bit of time to settle into the role of that. So giving him the confidence, giving him the freedom to fail. So many times everybody wants the freedom to grow. You know you have a ride or die when somebody allows you to fail and overcome that adversity. And that's something that we're allowing KJ to do as he's getting a feel for what it's going to be like to play for Georgetown. So we like his, I call him the Tasmanian devil. He is all over the place. Right? I love it. And it's rubbing off on the rest of the team as he gets healthy.
And with the 2 5-man, Vincent, Julius, do you see that as essentially a 2-man platoon at that spot, or do you see it as a possibility that those 2 guys might be on the floor occasionally together at the same time?
Another fair question. It all depends, you know, because I think one of our most physical presence is Seal Jupe. He's just very young. So I think we have 15 quality fouls, of which we will use. Don't know yet if we want to go that big, but, you know, Julius is skilled enough to do it when and if we want to do that. I can see us using it a couple of times. I don't know if it'll be for a long period of time. It's something we haven't experienced with yet in practice, yet we'll take a look at it.
Dave Preston, WTOP Radio
Dave,
here in
how you doing,
Washington.
man?
Good
Welcome
to see
back.
you.
Nice to
Yes.
see you.
9 more wins in year 2 than year 1 at this program. What strides do you feel you guys made last year that might not be so apparent, and what sort of intangible strides are you looking for from this team in year 3 as opposed to year 2?
Well, you know, we're going into year 2. You know, we thought Thomas was going to be a good player. We didn't realize he'd be a great player out the gate. That was the biggest jump, I think, that came out. And like I told you all this before, after our second practice, when we're at the Thompson Center, I had to get the staff in really tight. I got them in really tight. And I said, don't expect this kid to be here next year. Second practice. You kind of saw it coming. You saw it coming. Ooh, okay. Okay, Pat Jr., okay. And then you saw how dynamic Micah was, right? You know, with his size and his athleticism and his drive and his age. And he had a relentless attitude wanting to be good. I think adding them 2 last year, them 2 in particular, kind of set the tone for what we need to do with year 3 portal additions, because we added 0 freshmen, and that was calculated. I did not want a freshman on this year's roster. We wanted an older group. We wanted people that have played in the NCAA tournament, and we wanted more length and athleticism. And I think we've identified that. Now we have to put it all together and win, yet, you know, we passed the test of what we wanted to do early.
And, Mac's second year here, what do you feel he's going to be able to do this year as opposed to last year when, what have you?
Well, when we played GW the other day, I was really proud of his poise. The game was slow to him the other day. Last year, we made him put on some muscle, right? Not so much weight. He just had to get a little bit stronger as the league. You're going to get beat up in the Big East. They're going to hit you. They're going to kick you. They're going to punch you, right? Again, the physicality of the league he had to adjust to. I thought GW the other day was way more physical than I thought they were going to be. They're really connected. I like their team a lot. Very hard to prepare for, without quote unquote a scouting report. And I thought he did a really good job. He was really, really calm in that game. I'm like, okay, that's, he still has to improve on the defensive side with his know-how. And, the biggest thing as a point guard is point guards have to be a leader. Point guards have to be the voice of the head coach on the floor, right? There's three really, really important people in an organization that can't have a bad day. The head coach, the point guard, and your best player. If any of those are out of line, don't expect to have success. And your point guard, who is the ball handler, decision maker, they have to be as verbal as anybody. And that's something that he has to continue to improve on, of which he's worked on.
Okay, let's go over to John Titel with Hoops HD.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good, Coach. In each of your previous 2 stops, your win total increased from year 1 to year 2 to year 3. Without putting any pressure on you, do you feel that you have the pieces in place to do that again here?
Well, you already put that pressure on me, so I appreciate that. So I appreciate it. You expect to be good as you're growing in an organization, and in today's culture world of basketball, because kids don't have to sit out, and because we're allowed to now pay these players, the public and or supporters think that money is going to equate to winning all the time. And sometimes you can build these monster rosters and they don't get along. There's no camaraderie. People are me people, not a we person. So you have to build that, and I think we've done that. I expect to be damn good this year. I expect us to be tough. I expect us to win. I expect us to make mistakes and grow from it, right? This is, I expect to be good. So I'm going to put the pressure on myself before any of you do that. I love the fact that you guys come and support us and write great or bad things about us. You do your job, I'll do mine. I'm just saying, I expect us to be a better basketball team this year. I thought, and I truly mean this, I thought we scheduled and recruited a tournament team last year. Little did we know the injuries would decimate us. And, that comes with the territory. So hopefully we've added some depth where we can overcome some of that adversity you're faced with it this year.
Let's go Ron Bailey, Hoyer Report.
You had your pause on the guys since early June, I think?
Yeah, they've been here for a while. The June, they've been rocking and rolling with, because I'm looking forward to the Christmas break so I can send them home for a quick minute, just so I can take a deep breath. But we've had them for a while.
Talk about the challenge of keeping stuff fresh. I mean, they're beating on each other for months, literally. How do you keep it fresh?
Well, and the exhibition game the other day really helped. I'm like, you go hug and smack and do anything to someone else. So it came at the right time. But in doing so, you have to be creative with your practice plans, right? A shooting drill, taking them off campus, taking them out to eat, have them come to your home. So many times in this portal era, and I keep referencing that, they need to know who you are as the person or the people that they play for and with, not just the coach. Like, who are you? And I think that's what we're trying to get to with our group, and I think we got to it. I think that the biggest thing that happened for us this year was the Canada trip. That really gave us an incredible picture of who we could be, right? I thought our level of competition, I thought we had a elite mindset competition-wise. We had a really competitive spirit. Like, really, I'm like, oh, okay. I like that. I like our spirit in competition where everybody's trying to win. Everybody's trying to win, no matter what we do. So hopefully we can, further that. Keeping it fresh has been something that I think we do normally anyway, because we do keep it light until the lights come on.
So from the outside looking in, it would seem that fast break points will be a premium for you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get these young cats to run the fast break when they really haven't grown up doing so?
Defend. So when you look at what we assembled, we put together a defensive unit, and anytime we get stops, it's always been something we want to try to score in the first 3 to 7 seconds of the shot clock, which is either a layup, an uncontested shot, or a high assist efficient number, right? Right now, the game of basketball has totally changed from when we were kids. All of us that are wise in the room, not old, wise, that are wise in the room. Everything's analytic based now. Everything's analytic based. We have a little bit analytics. The biggest analytic to me is winning and losing. I'd rather have a shot than a turnover, like when you start looking at that. But when you start, you finished at 18% at the rim on the left side of the floor with 2 seconds on the shot. I'm not bright enough for that. That's what the NBA and all these other big time programs, at the end of the day, there's still only one champion. one champion. We're all fighting for the same food on that one there. So take a great shot, have some fun, play with some joy, play with some passion, have a personality, build an identity, right? Make your teammate better. How about that? The players that look in the mirror and see who they can impact, to me, is incredible. When people look at the mirror and just say, well, I look good, I need a little bit more, I gotta go get my eyebrows done and my toenails done. Look in the mirror and impact your teammate. That's what's gonna make you look better.
All right, let's go to Patrick Stevens once again.
And I know Langston was banged up a bit in the summer, missed the trip to Toronto, didn't play on the trip to Toronto, didn't play in the exhibition. How far along is he in terms of integrating him into what you want to do, and how realistic or how soon do you think he's going to be back?
I would respectfully ask me that in a couple of weeks, because he is going to come out and practice today. It's going to be his first practice in 2 or 3 months, whatever it's been. He's had an injury-riddled career, and our job is to keep him in a positive space, because we definitely know he can help us. I think we're vastly underrated shooting the ball. I think we can make shots because we share the ball and take the right shots. But it's like, how are you going to score? How are you going to score? I'm asking the same thing about other opponents when they play against us, because I really think we have a chance to have a really good defensive team.
You talked about how the game has changed a bit over the years. As a coach, how you determine a guy who can score off schedule that can help you at the end of the shot clock, and a guy who's just flat out too ball dominant, and when you see that, how do you correct that?
Open, honest. Here's the film. Can you do that in 1-2 dribbles? Because I'm not going to allow you to have 9-10 dribbles. That's not going to happen. It's going to be what we call a substitution at the table, at your 4th dribble. And again, that's just what the summer was able to do. Like, we always say, okay, every great team has a shot clock guy. Who's a shot clock guy? Who can go get you a bucket? Who's a settle me down guy? We're learning what that is a little bit with us right now, so we're not there, but we have an idea who those 1 or 2 or 3 players could be for us. But that's coaching. I'm not just gonna allow somebody just to dominate the ball and the ball sticks, because you're easy to find.
And some coaches do, whether it's formal or informal, have a target number for threes that they'd like attempt in a game, whether it's because that's their system or how they run things. Do you have that on this team, maybe like a target, what's too much, what's not enough, or is it all flow based?
It's a combination of both. I want a really good shot. And where does that come from? What's a good shot? But I would say, like, it is our goal to always try to make north of 7 to 10 threes a game. If you give up 7 to 10 threes a game, you can be in trouble, right? You can be in trouble. So, can we make 7 to 10 a game? If you do that, you're going to have a really high efficient offense, because you're going to get a transition layup, an offensive rebound. But threes changed the game. Again, we was up 11 the other day, back-to-back threes, 5-point game, right? And it was on 2 really, really bad mistakes we made. So those are just daggers. So our entire philosophy is tough twos, no threes, tough twos, no threes, tough twos, no threes, tough twos, no threes. And we still gave up 9 the other day, but I think they shot 30, 34, 35 threes. So percentage-wise, it looks good, but today's the first practice, by the way, since then. So I'm looking forward to seeing my guys. Really excited to see them. A couple of choice words.
All right, let's go to Jeremy Huber.
And the one thing it felt like you weren't overly happy with on Saturday was your 5 spot. What are the traits you're looking for in a Georgetown post player?
So when you look at Seal, look at Julius, didn't play last year, right? Limited with Julius, given his. When you look at Vince coming out of all the medical history that he had, leaving USC, going to St. John's, he didn't have a lot of game minutes that were like in crunch time. I want our 5 men to be incredible communicators defensively, finish in front of the rim, make the extra pass, defend, and have an interior presence. But be more vocal. I think we'll be okay at that position. I think Seal was a little overwhelmed. He was running in mud uphill both ways when he got in the game. And, Julius settled in. I think he has to be a little bit more selfish. We had a shot clock violation late in the second half where he was in front of the rim against somebody my size. He passed it like, my man. You're not getting it at a better spot at 7 foot, but he's really, really unselfish. I think he's a great passer. We'll be able to run our offense through him. With big guys, always remember, it takes time. And when bigs get it, wow, is it really special to see, right? It takes time for big guys to really develop. And I think, with time, these young kids will develop.
Okay, and let's get the mic back to Gene.
Yeah, and with how college athletics has evolved and maybe your Hall of Fame peers saying I've had enough, what kind of keeps you coming back year after year?
I love what I do. I love seeing people's life change because of academics. I really do. I wouldn't be sitting here without an academic background, and I didn't come from an academic background. So as many of these young men want to come in and they want to be NBA players or this, at the core value of what we have to teach is the educational stability that will last long term for your life. The money we pay these kids now, and it's a lot, it's still short term for their life, Do they have financial literacy to make sure that that dollar grows to $10? It's our job to try to give them that education. Do everything. I know the graduation rates probably in the last 3 or 4 years has plummeted. And in some of our underserved communities, of which many of our players come from, shame on us if we don't have that level of love for them that they may not have for themselves right now. Right now, they're just seeing the American dollar, which is, I understand. And the competitive spirit that I have to rejuvenate an incredible, incredible basketball legacy and tradition is what motivates me every day to get up. It's just, I coach for a living. I get to wear shoes, like a sweatsuit to work, right? I get to encourage young men to be better than they actually think they are. And then when they see it, to see somebody in the green room at the NBA draft, right? To see a parent cry and say, thank you for not lying to me. That to me is what wakes us up every day to try to come back. And I can understand how some of the veteran coaches around the country are fed up with this because, I'm going to see if Allen Iverson wants to come back and play. They're pulling people out of the G League, the D League, the X League, and let's see if he and Reggie want to come back and throw up some shots. Serious. Like what we doing? What we doing? Until there's more guardrails on this by some God-given intervention, there's still going to be a lot of flux in it. But as much we can get frustrated, yet if we don't lean into this, we're going to get lost.
Go to Marcus, but based on that answer, Coach, Allen Iverson did just say that the answer himself is no longer with us in his most recent interview on the New Heights podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Let's go to Marcus.
Did you feel like you brought up the thing with the 2 G League players who got their eligibility? How much of that you think was almost opened up by being able to bring international players off of club professional teams? And then, you had schools that say, well, if you're doing that for overseas players, why are we not doing that for American players?
No, fair question. Fair question. I don't know if that opened up the can for it, but I'm pretty sure it was a conversation because it's real. That's, it's yes. To answer your question, yes. I'm pretty sure coaches that were in that space recruiting those players, somehow, some way talked about the international space with some of these players. Like they were pros at, in Poland or Brazil, France, wherever they may come from. If we have that same situation here, what's the difference? So that's, but again, at what point are you going to put an age limit on this? You're going to have 39-year-olds out there hooping, right? As freshmen, right? So, what are we talking about here?
And I know you spoke about this a little bit yesterday, but I want to circle back around with this is in some conferences, the lack of African American head coaches, and there's still a certain sense of African American coaches being there for recruiting purposes, as opposed to wanting that end game of being head coaches. How do we change that sort of stereotype in that environment to understand that African American coaches are also trying to get to that first chair and not just be recruiters?
Again, I was on this all day yesterday because I feel it, and I feel if we didn't have some of the legends that paved the way for someone like myself to sit here and address this. I have one of the more dynamic young basketball coaches in America on our staff. and LaDante Hinton. And before, somebody like LaDante, i.e., whether it was a Dave Lato back in the day, or a Carl Harbs back in the day, we kind of came up by proving that only we can go out and identify talent, maybe not the best in the country, yet develop that talent. Before there was social media, you know, now if a kid makes a layup, it's on 75,000 Instagrams or whatever it is. We didn't have that ability, so you really had to go out and evaluate. We don't always just want to I don't want to hire a recruiter. Who isn't a great evaluator that can identify somebody that can play for us? Not who can go to Georgetown, who can play for Edward Anthony. That's who we had to be. And in doing so, I think because of the money right now, I think a lot of these assistants are not being valued at all. They're not being valued because you don't see their promise, their gift. So some of the younger coaches are not being viewed that way. Some of the minority coaches, whom always have had a stereotype of they're just recruiters. So then when you start looking at the hiring cycle, and again, all these schools that have coaches that are in their seat, they do a great job. I'm not saying they don't. I'm saying if this trend continues and it's not, you're not representing the people that you're even coaching. So who are these kids even looking up to when the real world comes and they're there for 1 year, 2 years, or 4 years? I don't know if I could identify what you're going through and have a really open, honest discussion about how life really is. And when you look around the country at all these high major programs, to have 15 out of 79 or 80 schools, that's a problem. That's a legit, open, honest conversation that I don't think many of you aren't talking about enough. Because the next young man or woman to come through that is not a minority, they're gonna have the benefit of the doubt. Where the minorities are not getting the benefit, just to try. You know, you had a guy that went to the Final Four, don't know what happened. Final Four, ACC champion. 9 months later, deuces. That's rough. Wow. So I think between search firms, college universities and presidents, ADs, have a little bit more mindfulness of what's in your locker room, of the people you're gonna serve, not just the people that are gonna play.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Coach.